don't know me, my name is Chris Martin. I'm the technology integrationist for the Sioux Falls School District. And I know you probably get my emails all the time, so I appreciate those who don't throw them away in the trash right away. That's always a good sign. And I always enjoy when people say that they create folders for me. I do appreciate that. With today's lesson, we're going to be talking about the lunch and learn that we've got. And feel free to eat during this. So I in no way am I going to judge you if you're going to eat. I've got my little snacks over here. I probably won't be eating, but I do have, because you guys are all muted, I do have my water. So by all means, we're all friends here. Today's lesson is how to, I was asked last week, how do I annotate PDFs? And that's a tough order. You can't easily do that in Google Docs. However, there's a workaround that I found is if you put the PDF, open it up in like Adobe Acrobat, take screenshots of it, put it in, and there's a few steps to it, but not too bad. Put it into a Google slideshow. You can annotate over the top of that by doing a custom layering, which is very advantageous for this particular deal. We're going to take a look at our agenda for today, and I can zoom in on this a little bit. So we're going to kind of go through the step-by-step on using Google Slides to have students fill out worksheets. And then at the end, I do have some questions that a few people posted in the Google form that I had sent out, so I appreciate that. And then certainly at the end, we will go through on how to do that. At this time, let's see. Oh, you can't see my screen, so I'm breaking the rule here. Let me go in and present now. I'm going to present my entire screen. And I'm still getting used to Google Meet myself. And let's see. All right. Can everyone see my screen for the most part? Everyone pretty good? Yes, no, maybe so. I've got Gretchen and Kimberly. I get a thumbs up from Kimberly, so that's good. I appreciate that. All right. Hey, and Christy Colts. Yes, she texted. Appreciate it. She and I go way back to the Lennox days, so I appreciate you joining in, Christy. That's awesome. We've got 30 in the session. So let me go over that again one more time. I'm going to go over the itinerary, and you should be able to see my screen. And still. So we're going to go into, there's a couple different ways to do this. And one thing that I want to stress is that there's always more than one way to skin a cat, so to speak. In opening Google Slides is probably the best way that I found out how to do this. Now, I know there's third-party programs out there that will annotate PDFs. However, sometimes they're glitchy and they're free for a month and then they go to a paid subscription, or they're somewhat limited in scope. So this really kind of eliminates a lot of that. Pardon me. So without further ado, I'm going to get into this. The first step I'm going to go into is opening a Google slide presentation from the app or from Google Drive. And for those of you who are not tech savvy, that's okay. I'm going to walk you through literally from scratch on how to do this. So if I was in, let's go to Google. I'm going to start a new document altogether. Let's go to google.com. And I want to make sure that I'm signed in with my K-12 account, and you should be able to see that I am. For those of you who are asking how I'm zooming in and out, I'm on my Mac, and the Mac has a nice zoom in feature for accessibility. On my app chooser here, I'm going to choose my apps and go into Google Slides. Now, through the miracles of modern television, I've already done that. So what I would do is I would just simply click on blank slide, unless you want some kind of template. And there might be some kind of like there's a flashcard template right here. And I do have a nice tutorial on flashcards, but that's with a spreadsheet later on. But we're going to go into a new presentation. So I've already created a new presentation, and I called it Annotate PDF Worksheet for today. And it says right in the middle, click to add new slide, and I do that. So that's step one on creating my Google Slide presentation. The second way to open a Google Slide presentation, and there's also another way to do this after that, but I'm going to show you two, is from Google Drive. Once again, if I was in Google, let's go back. If I was in Google and I went to my app chooser and I go to my Google Drive, which is up here, I simply click on New and go to Slides and go into Blank Presentation. I could also go from a template, but that in this particular case, that is not necessary. And thus we get back into our brand new worksheet. Now, if you get the text on here to where you don't want these, first thing I do is I will change either the layout, and that's up here. We'll go to Layout, and you can change which type of layout that you want. Perhaps you don't want anything and you just want a blank screen. Right down here is blank. Pardon me once again. That way I don't have to click on any text boxes and delete them. So far, so good. The next step that we're going to get into, and let me go back to my document here, is we're going to open up a PDF from Google Drive, and the best practices for setting Adobe as your PDF reader. Now, I will also share this out for all who signed up for this presentation today. I've got a couple of help documents here. This is from the Adobe website themselves on how to set in Windows 10, how to set Adobe Acrobat as your default PDF reader. And then the next step we'll be doing is taking a screenshot of that PDF, okay? Now, I already have one prepared, and it's off to my screen here, so you won't see it. I'm going to open with, because I get a lot of times, and if someone would just text me and just say that they can see my Adobe PDF here, I would appreciate that. Let's see. I have to. All right, let's go back into my deal. Make sure I haven't lost anyone yet. I've got a couple, let's see. Okay, 12. Okay, so Michelle Dykstra says, yep, you can see the PDF. So great. Thank you for the feedback on that. I do appreciate it. So typically when you open up a PDF, a lot of times you'll see, and I know this isn't the PDF that I had, but this is a PDF that I had created a while back. Usually you just see it in this preview view. So if I'm in Google Drive, I'm just seeing this. For instance, if I go to my Google Drive and I see a PDF somewhere, okay, here's instructions on Campus Parent Portal. If I double click on that, it will give me a preview basically, and I can scroll through and see that. However, and that may work for you. You can still do screenshots of this as well if you're in Microsoft Windows 10, like on most district computers that we've got or laptops. You can take a screenshot of that. If you're on a Chromebook as a teacher, you can take a screenshot of that, and then we can go in on how to crop that out later for what you want. With that said, I want to download this PDF. So what I would do is I would, and I think I've got this worksheet right here. I'm going to simply right mouse click on it and download that to my computer. That way I can open up in Adobe PDF. And that's why I showed everyone my directions on how to set Adobe Acrobat as your default PDF reader. Because most people, it opens up in like Microsoft Edge or in Chrome itself. And there's a way that you can change that. That way you're not getting, that way you're getting a little more tools out of that. And somehow, if you want to change some things on that, we can get more into that later. That costs money, but we don't want to go down that road. I really just want to show you how to take screenshots from this. So with that said, I've got my PDF in the background. And I want a nice large size of this. That's why I've opened this up in Acrobat Reader. And here I'm at 150%. And this worksheet's a little fuzzy anyway, but what I can do is I'm going to take any one of these. And I hope there's some Spanish-speaking folks in the crowd, because it's been a long time since freshman class, freshman Spanish. What I want to do is I'm going to take the snipping tool, and I do have instructions on using the snipping tool in this document that I'll share out with everybody. I've got a video that I've created here, And then I also have the step-by-step from Microsoft. So don't, if you're like, hey, never used the snipping tool before, don't worry, it's not a big deal. To take a screenshot, I'm simply going to, on my Mac, my Macintosh, I'm going to do my screenshot. Take a clipping of this, and it saves that as a picture on my desktop. For Windows users, you're going to probably be prompted for what to name that. You'll be prompted. You'll get the window, and you'll see the document that you've created, the image, and then you can save that as a JPEG or a PNG file. It doesn't really matter, but either way, you can save that as an image file. I'm also going to take another screenshot of multiple sections here. In this particular case, just 2. There we go. And that is also saved to my desktop and back into our main document. Now that I've got a screenshot, I'm going to go back into slides and I'm going to set up a template with text boxes. Okay. All right, and here's where the magic really starts to happen. In here, I might want to create multiple slides. However, I don't want to create multiple slides until they're ready yet. And here I might want to create a few text boxes. Now, up in the toolbar, there's a lot of great tools in this program, and with that is a text box. And so we're going to create a text box. I'm just going to draw it out, something simple. And I can just put in like number 1, okay? I can change the font size of this right away. Also on the toolbar, let's zoom out a little bit. On the toolbar, I'm going to make this a little smaller file size and then kind of go from there. Now, how you do this is dependent upon the age of your students also. One thing that I want to stress to you all is that if you've got a younger population that you're creating this for, you'll have to create text boxes for them so that at least they're prompted on where to drag these to. If you really want to draw attention to them, you can put a box around them if you wish. So I can put a border on here, a very thin border. And then from here, I can simply copy this and just paste it several times, depending upon how many answers are on your worksheet. Okay. Hopefully everyone's following along so well. I'm going to check and do a check on learning so far. Let's see. Oh, Susan replies, C, thank you very much. What if we don't have Adobe Acrobat on our home computers? That's a free download. That's a great question. It is a free download. You can install that since you've got a home computer. It's a very lightweight file for the installation. It doesn't take up a lot of space on your computer. So I would suggest, yes, do Adobe Acrobat. It also gives you a lot of other features in there. And I've got a couple of video tutorials I'll send everyone on you yourself annotating on a Word document and an Adobe Acrobat document. That way, if you were to go into school or you had some kind of device that lets you, you hooked up like a laptop or your school desktop to your smartboard at school, then you can use the pen features of the smartboard to annotate over those documents. And that's hopefully when we get back into the classroom, who knows when that will be, you can also use those features when you get back into the classroom. And seeing Chrissy writes, I don't know how to take a screenshot of a PDF file on Windows. And so that's where that, it's a good question, Christy. On that, I'll be sending you let me go back into my document. And if you can reply back to Christy, can you see my screen right now with my mouse moving around, or at least my my desktop when I switch back to my document? She says yes. Okay, so on here, if you don't know how to take a screenshot on your Windows, using the snipping tool, and snipping tool comes with Microsoft Windows 10. And so, and it was in like Microsoft or Windows 7 as well. But the snipping tool has been around for a long time. If you don't see that, let me know. You might have to go to the Microsoft Store to install that, but it should come preloaded on Windows. So yeah, this snipping tool. And like I said, watch these videos on how to take those little screenshots. Let's go back into Meet here. I'm sorry, let's go back into my tool here. And I'm going to dress these up a little bit more. And you don't have to make them super fancy. You know, it is nice that they have like a self-aligning feature. It's kind of an uptown feature. You can change these as well, you know, to like 2, 3, 4. And once I get my template set up, then you can kind of work from there. And maybe you want to keep, I would keep this simple, keep, you know, just a few questions on a page. Let's see, 5. And if there's 7 or 8 on that next one, we'll work around that. All right, 6. So I've got this set up. Now that I've got this set up, all I have to do is go in and duplicate my slide on here. So what I'm going to do is we'll just duplicate. Depending upon how many questions you've got, now you might not even put the numbers in there. For older students, no, they can make their own text boxes. You just tell them make a text box, float it over the image that you'll make, and we'll go from there. Oops, undo and duplicate. And now the next step in this is going in and pasting that document that I've got, that image that I've got. So I'm going to upload that screenshot into Google Drive. So there's one of 2 ways to do this, is upload it to Drive, upload your images to Drive, create a folder for that, maybe for like certain worksheets. If you're a super organized person, unlike me, then you would probably, you know, upload them to Google Drive. That way you've got them for use later. If you just want to upload it directly to Google Slides from your computer, I'm going to show you that as well. So let's go in step 1. Step 1, I'm going to go into Google Drive, and let's make a new folder. I'm going to call this screenshots for worksheets. And there it is. I'm going to double click on that. And from here, I can click and drag my files into here, or I can go into new file upload, or you can do a folder upload if you have them on your computer already. It's 6 in one, half dozen in the other. Now I've taken 2 screenshots already, and I'm going to simply highlight both and upload those to my Google Drive. And it shouldn't take too long to get them in there. And you can see that the default saving for a Mac screenshot is a PNG file, a portable network graphic. It's the same thing as a GIF file, a graphics interchange format. You'll know GIFs as those little, you know, you can do animations with GIFs. You can actually do animations with PNG files as well. Nerd alert, I'm a huge image guy, so like I do a lot of photography. JPEGs are nothing more than compressed bitmap files. So it's more of a picture, and it has a lot more color depth. To whereas a PNG and a GIF file does not have that much pixel depth or color depth to it. That way you won't see that many colors in those. That being said, let's move on. Let's see, let's go back into my slideshow, and I'm just going to simply go to Insert. Click somewhere in the slide here, Insert, Image, and I'm going to go from Google Drive, and I'll zoom in on that. So I'll click on Drive. And it brings this up on the side here. I'm going to click on, I'm over on the right-hand side here. I'm going to click on My Drive. And I'm going to search. I could just do search for that, as this looks like a nightmare. Oh, hey, screenshots for school, and double click on that. Oh, Screencastify. Let's go back. I'm going to click on Name right here, which should alphabetize. If I go to Last Modified, I should get the first one. Hey, right there. You can also, if you don't like the, you can go into a list, which I prefer more than the grid. I'm not a grid guy, I'm a list guy. And here's my screenshots. If I click on Insert here, or just simply drag this in, I'm going to get this image. And I do have 8 questions here, so for the sake of time, I'm not going to get all into that. But what I'll do is, la maestra de, okay, which subject pronoun would you use if you're speaking? Is there anyone in the crowd that can help me out on this? I'm going to phone a friend, so to speak. Is there anyone that can text me the answer? Because this is cooperation for graduation. Let's see. Usted. Thank you, Susan. I appreciate you very much. I'm going to simply copy this and go into my. I could have just went to Google Translate and asked that. And I'm simply going to paste that, or so the students can type this in basically. And all they're going to do is simply drag this over. Now, the problem that you're going to run into is this. Where's my text box? Where did that go? And fear not, there's a thing in here called arranging. And so we're going to click on the answers or the question here. And I'm simply going to right mouse click, or alternate click on a Mac, you would call that. I'm going to right mouse click on my image. If I go to, where is it going? Pardon me, order. I'm going to arrange. In Microsoft, it's called arrange. Or in Google, it's called order. 6 1/2 dozen in the other. I'm going to send this to the back, to the way back. That way, my text box, ta-da, shows up right here. Now, you can get rid of the 1 there and just put usted. And you can keep the text boxes there. The biggest part to this is that you just want students just to answer this. And the biggest thing, oops, zoom out. The biggest part about that now is, let's see, to amigo. I'll just put, I don't know the answer, and I won't rely on Susan. I'll just guess. These people, two instead. I'm going to put 2. Let's say it's wrong. And let's go into here. Now, special characters. We'll get into that in just a little. We'll get into that last. That's not on my list or my agenda, but I will get into how to do special characters and show you guys a couple of tips, tricks that you can do to help that out. So on and so forth. You put these text boxes over here, and boom. With that said, you get basically you're getting your students to answer this. Now, the second part on how to insert this this image file is with that larger image that I took so far. And I'm going to stop here and ask, are there any questions so far? Hey, Nicole said it was 2, so I was right. Woohoo! Can you lock the boxes on the page or group them to stay in place? You can. You can. So if you want to set that up yourself ahead of time, that's a great question. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to group those together. Let's go back into my PDF worksheet. And I'm going to click on this. And let's put all my text boxes on here. Imagine, if you will, use your imaginations that I've got 7 and 8 already on there as well. Thank you very much. Let's shrink this down and bring this up. Okay, you get the point. If I start using the shift key and I start clicking on these text boxes, and then this, I can right mouse click on all of these, and I should be able to group these together. So if I click on group, and if you look at the shortcut, it's Command Option G on a Mac. I think it's whatever it is on a PC. You'd have to look that up. But you can, if you want to use shortcuts, and I'm a huge keyboard shortcut guy, just group these together. Can kids still answer these once they're grouped? Double click. Yes, you can. And the reason I knew that is because I had created a timeline template for Google Slides, and you can create grouped objects and then fill in those text boxes later on. That way, if you need to move this around, you certainly can. You can't lock this in place like a smart notebook file. You could. You can anchor that in place. Unfortunately, that would be a great feature to have. Nor can you do like an infinite cloner. That way, if you just had 2 usted or ustedes, then you can just have them click and drag that. Or you can just have them pre-done ahead of time. So it depends on maybe the age level. Certainly older students can figure this out, and they can just add their own text boxes, copy, paste, and answer those in there. All you have to do is show them how to do that. Now, for the benefit of the group, later on today, I will be creating a tutorial on how to create text boxes for students in filling out PDF worksheets. That way you could refer that to them if you wanted to. Great question. That was a really good question. Let me go back and just check for a little bit more. Okay, no other questions. So I'm going to go into that second option. So I've got my second slide, and I'm going to go to Insert Image, and I'm going to upload it from my computer. So I'm not going to go to my Google Drive this time. If you just want to upload it from your computer, here's the second one that I did, and just to make sure, yep, that's the second one that I did. I'm going to hit open, and boom. And you're like, well, Chris, I already have the first part in there, section 2. Now I want section 3 in there. That's fine. What we're going to do is we're just going to simply use the crop tool on this. And all I'm going to do is right mouse click on the image and go to crop image. And I'm just going to simply drag this down and hit enter. And I've got my cropped image. Once again, you can set it up however you see fit for your text boxes. I will go to order and send this to back right away. And then, yeah, go from there. In any event, that's probably the easiest portion of that. Now, questions at this point. Are there any questions so far? Or any continuing questions or clarifications? All right, great. So far, so good. I still have a good amount of you in here, so that's hopefully I haven't been too boring. You'll have to probably give me a review at the end of this. I appreciate the any feedback. I'm gonna close out of this. Let's go back into my worksheet. What about adding in special characters? And I just thought of that. So this is kind of an extra tip for the day. If I go at Insert, I'm not going to find it in here, but I can't find any special characters. And if I go into Format, I'm not seeing any special characters in here. However, if I go into Google Docs, let's go to the bottom of this document here. Click on my, let's get rid of table. There we go. If I just want to write you, and let's highlight that. Let's go to Format or Insert. Oh, here we go. I'm going to go Insert Special Characters here. And students, if they wanted to, sometimes you have to have this open in conjunction with your annotations or your, your Google slide that you're annotating. And if I want to write you, here I'm going to get all these iterations of you. And I'm not sure exactly, that was the, I think it was Latin letter with the acute. Let's say it's this one. For sake of brevity, let's say it's this one. I'm just going to insert this in here. Okay, so I've got my special character. You can have a list of special characters already available. Oops, not supposed to do that. Let's zoom out, close this, and let's delete that. I have a list of special characters already here. That way students can go in and copy, paste. Depends on how strict you are with that. If I'm teaching science though, how do you get like a degree symbol in there? Well, that's fine. I can just type in insert special character, and I just want degrees. And so I get the degree symbol is right here. So there's a degree symbol. However, what if I also told you, wait, there's more. What if I told you that you can type in special characters by creating, I'm gonna show you a special tip here, but can't talk. I'm gonna highlight this, and I get so excited about this, so because I'm really nerding out. I'm gonna Control C on this. I'm gonna copy this to the keyboard. And I'm going to go into my help menu. In Microsoft Word, there's find and replace. And if you hit Control H on your keyboard, you get to the find and replace. And I've used that extensively over the last 20 some years. in education. It's a great tool to use. You can get rid of a lot of mistakes that you see. You can also replace something that you've had. In addition to the find and replace feature, Google has that as well. So if I go into replace, you're going to see find and replace. And I'm going to find, if I find degree, so you can have kids type in, like, the word degree or DEG. However, that could be dangerous. If you just type out degree, you can have them replace that with that symbol. That's one way to do that. Now, I have another way to do that I often do, and that's the replace feature, or the autocorrect. Except Google doesn't call it autocorrect. So if I do autocorrect and it doesn't have it in there, it doesn't show me. If I click on doc help, and this is originally how I found it. If I typed in autocorrect, it says use autocorrect, correct your spelling and grammar in Google Docs. If I want autocorrect though, let's see. Oh, hold on. Someone chimed in. I've got a text. Oops. Oh, have to leave. Okay, not a problem. See you, Patricia. Thank you for joining in. Let's see. Let's go back into my Word document. Oh, it wasn't autocorrect. It was tools. Give me a minute. I'll find it. Oh, and I just had this the other day, so I do apologize. Appreciate the wait. Oh, linked options, dictionary. Oh, next. I know it's in here somewhere, so give me a second. Give me a second. Hold on. Oh, it's going to rack my brain. Let me show you what the effect of it is. I'm going to zoom in. I'm just going to, down here, I'm going to type in DEGSYM. And I've got this set up to where if I click on that, it just replaces it with the degree symbol. And I know it's the find, it's not the find and replace, but it is called something like replace. Anyway, I will get back to that. I do have a tutorial on that on my YouTube channel, so we'll get in. I'll send that later on, and let's get back into this. Create slide templates. The image arrange layer. Okay, let's talk about submitting. So there are still some people who maybe are not still totally on board with submitting stuff. If you're at the high school level and you've got a Google Classroom set up, here we go, Mrs. Weaver. Let's say I go in and I go into a classwork. Let's find an assignment. I'm not going to totally do this, but I'm going to go to remote learning. I'm going to go into my turned in. And I want to, where's my name? Oh, I'm logged in as a teacher. As a student, I would go in and then submit this document as my Google form, or my Google assignment. From there, the teacher can go in and submit that. If you're in Schoology, same thing. You can go in and upload that document to your assignment to turn that in, and then your teacher can go in and grade that and give any feedback on that as well. So let's, without further ado, let's get into the questions that I had. And it says, I'm just looking, and I took the names off here. I'm just looking at how to make tasks that are more interactive. Okay, and for those of you who, for whoever asked that, could you be a little more specific as far as which tasks? Are you looking for something in um, in Google Slides itself, or what? And I'll wait for you to type if that was your question that's in there. It's in the deal right now. Maybe that person's still not in, maybe not in the chat. So let's go back into the questions then. How do I upload the PDFs that students can work from into my Google Classroom? So without doing that, so the kids really can't annotate those PDFs other than doing it through what I've found so far without third party into a Google slideshow. And this is a pretty easy way for kids to annotate these and answer these if you just have images. I wish it were easier. I wish there was just something that easy that kids can click on the PDF, annotate away, and then submit that without a third-party tool, just because there are some extensions out there that A, might not be COPPA friendly, and B, might only be free for a little bit, and C, that extension might not be compatible with the Google Chrome platform in terms of that it might break something else. So let's get back into that because I teach SPED. How to create different private assignments for my students on Google Classroom. That's a good question. So if you guys don't mind staying on there, and for those of you, please stay on, because at the end of this, in about another 10 minutes, I'll reveal the code that you can get in to get the full CECH. So let's see. Oh, hey. Deb writes, let me answer this first, and I'll get to Deb's, Virginia's, and Christy's question on here. Is there a way to have it automatically graded? So let's go back into Google Classroom. Okay, so if I'm in Google Classroom, do I have Classroom open? Let's go into class, and I've got a fake class here. If you want assignments just for particular students, this is a super easy question. I'm going to go into classwork. I'm going to create an assignment. And instead of applying it, I'm going to go on the right-hand side here. Instead of all students, I'm just going to check box the ones that need that assignment. So only that student sees it. It only applies. It's only applicable to that student. Hopefully that answers your question. Great question, though. Deb Harold writes, when you save the document, will the text boxes stay functional so when they open it, you'll be usable? Yes, absolutely. And keep in mind too, Deb, that when you're creating any Google document, it's always saving it on the fly. In fact, there isn't even a save button on here. It's just constantly saving. Every time you change that, it saves it. Also, extra tip for the day, did you know if you go to File, and this is also to see if kids are pasting in answers from somewhere else, I can go down to Revision History, Version History right here. So if I go to Version History from File, I can see all of the edits that Chris Martin made. And if you've got this as group work, I can see all the revisions that other students make. And I can see what that revision is at a certain point in time. So if I click on any one of these, at 12:45 p.m., I added this text box. Also at 12:45, I did the rest of this. This is a very handy feature to show where kids are at. I helped show this feature to a student that also works in Google Docs, Google Sheets, everything else. You can clear a lot of confusion out by seeing what kids are like. Well, it must have got deleted. Well, let's go back and look at the version history. So that's a great tool to have. Good question. My personal Google account is trumping my school account. Virginia, stay with me after the session and we'll get into that. Let's see. Christy, is there a way to have it automatically graded, similar to Google Forms quizzes? Unfortunately, no. That's a good question. However, you could do one of two things. You could have the PDF that the kids open, and on one side of the screen, and the kids on a Chromebook, it's going to be a little more difficult. You can have them, you go back and forth. If you have a big enough window, you can have the kids, on this side have the PDF, and then on this side have your Google form, so the kids can answer that, have the questions answered as they go along. Now, could they be doing cooperation for graduation? Maybe, but we do have Google Meet turned off, so students can't start their own Google Meets now. But kids are going to find other ways to talk to each other, so it's a good question. Did that? Hopefully that answered your question on that. With that said, I think that's all I've got for today on showing you those things. I apologize for finding that. I will find that find and replace deal, and I will send that in an email to everyone who's participated today. So thank you for showing up and coming in. If you have any other further questions, I will be on my other YouTube channel, my Google Help one. I'm going to post the details here right in this message. So if you want to copy those and come into my other Google Meet session that I have open, then jump into that one later on. And you can jump in whenever. I just sit here all day and think of fun stuff to show teachers and answer emails. So with that said, the code for today, the code. What I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you go back into the same form. So if you the original email that you guys got with all of the links to the forms, I'm going to reopen that. Make sure that you guys can. I'm going to turn off the limit to one response. All right, so that is saved. The Monday Lunch and Learn has saved. I'm going to let you respond back with the code. Let's see. CECH Monday. All one word. If you put that in the code, in that Google form, in that there's one text box in that Google form. If you go back to that original email that I sent, and I'll just I'll post the link to it here too as well. Copy. You can paste this in right now. Into another browser. So you can copy that link or click on that link. It'll take you to that form, enter that code, and then I will make sure that you get continuing education credit hours for that. So thanks all, everyone. You can, after you get the information that you need, you can dial out. I'll wait about another 10 minutes. And then, let's see, who had the question for me? Oh, global find and replace. I'm not sure if the global find and replace works on that, Linda. I've just seen your question now. I'm not quite sure it does that. I have to test that out between programs. I know it works for sure in Google Docs. Let's try out in my Google Sheet here, or my Google Slideshow rather. Oops, let's come back. I'm just going to go in one of these text boxes. If I type in DEGSYM, it does. So it is a global. It's not really find and replace. It's more like an autocorrect, but they don't call it autocorrect. It's something dumb that I can't find right now. So I apologize. I'm going to stay on here and try to find that out. Some kind of autocorrect feature. Let's see. I bet this will answer it. Yeah, keyboard shortcuts, automatic answer, tools, preferences. Oh, automatic substitution. Okay, so that's what it is. For those of you who are still on, bless your hearts. If I go in now and I type in substitution, tool, preferences, substitution, there it is. So that's where you would take the U. Let's cancel that for a second. Let's go back to U, Control C, tools, preferences, substitutions. So I'm going to replace U with that. And it might have to be U, maybe make a special word like U accent. And there might be a couple different ones. So there might be U strike, and you can U strike, U enye, however you want to put that, or enye. So then if I'm going along and I'm typing and I just type in U strike, there you go. So that's it, auto substitution. Yay. All right. You guys are awesome. Bless your hearts. All right, Virginia, it says I did. Let's see. Okay, do you want to join me on the other meeting board? And I'm going to close this one out, Virginia. Stop presenting. Yo. Someone had a question. Oh, there we go. Thanks, Michelle. Thanks, Linda. All right, Kathy. And Kathy, do you have a question? Okay. No worries. Linda, do you have a question too? No. All right. Oh, gotcha. All right, I'm going to close you out. Thanks, Amy. And stop recording. Thanks for watching this broadcast. If you like this and you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please consider doing so. I greatly appreciate it. Although YouTube has turned off notifications for people who subscribe on accounts that are set up for students specifically, you might want to just check in periodically and you'll find out if I send new videos. So thanks for watching.